It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So I hadn't looked at the Drudge Report. I don't look at it as often, but I try to look at it once a night.
Okay.
See what's going on because, as we know, the Drudge Report has gone, more left in their headlines.
Mm-hmm.
But here it is. Gloves off. Biden calls Trump convicted felon. Sharpens his attacks. Wall Street Journal. Joe losing his mind. Oh, my God. That's that all in one headline.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I just had to bring that one up. It's like, oh, my gosh.
All right.
Now, I saw this story. I'm glad that a Republican in Congress is looking at this because this, without question, is within the parameters of the authority of the Congress of the United States and the regulatory blah, 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 yada, yada, yada.
Right.
Indiana Congressman Jim Banks calls for the WNBA to take action to protect Caitlin Clark. This is from Outkick. They exclusively obtained a copy of the letter Banks sent to the commissioner of the WNBA seeking answers as to what steps the league will take to protect Caitlin Clark because Congress is needed here. She was shoved.
If there's a foul on her, then I think we need to just end sports as we know it. It has gone too far. If there is any contact from here on, seriously?
Boy, I sound like a butthead there.
Yeah. This is wrong.
Look, I saw the shove. There should have been a flagrant foul.
Yeah.
And maybe even kicked out of the game for it because from what I can see, unless I didn't see a video a minute before, I didn't know if there's no indication that Clark hit her in any way. But that would be, you know what I keep thinking of? I keep thinking of the old films when Larry Bird would get in a fight. I remember the one with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar where they went at it. They just went at it, something fierce. I mean, they're punching each other, but the one thing I would notice, and again, I don't know how to attach anything, to this, your racism, because you hear the racism, you hear there's animosity because she's white and she's straight. You've heard all that.
Yeah.
I will say that when she got shoved down, I'm guessing it seems like she's of the philosophy because she got hit and she went down, and it was completely uncalled for. But she sort of looked up like, okay, I'll go take. And she talked about it afterwards. Well, yeah, I knew it was a bad foul, and I get foul shots. Make the foul shots. We won the game.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And so whatever you think about it and whatever you think about what's going on in the WNBA, Representative Jim Banks, stop it.
Yeah, we don't need that.
Congress doesn't need to have oversight over fouls in the WNBA.
Yeah. Yeah.
That isn't
Stay
the most
off social media.
Right. That's not the most pressing situation that we have right now in this country. Remember, he's a Republican, and don't think we won't call out Republicans for doing stupid things, and this is a stupid thing. And I can hear the response from him. Mr. McNamara, you don't understand. This is Indiana. Indiana, we take care of our own.
Okay.
I can hear that one. And my response would be, you need to shut up. if that was going to be his response. But when I saw that, Indiana Congressman Jim Banks calls for WNBA to take action to protect Caitlin Clark.
I'm waiting for a bill We're going to introduce a bill since the WNBA won't take action. Stop. Just stop.
I know. I saw that and go, God, just please, just stop. Make it go away. And I mean, the sports, I mean, I will say this, though. The one thing it is doing is giving tremendous amount of publicity to the WNBA.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's been good for the sport. I haven't seen the numbers, but I'm guessing this whole thing's been good for the sport. There's people talking about the WNBA. So there's that.
Well, that's it right there. There is nothing else. They're talking about the WNBA.
That's it.
That's all you need.
Yep.
In sports, like in talk radio, any publicity, negative or positive, is good publicity.
Yeah. So take it. Yeah, we don't need Congress.
I remember
urge
when
the WNBA to do anything.
When I worked in Buffalo, the local newspaper would just take unfair shots at me all the time, and I would blast them back, and they would take just huge unfair shots, and that's fine because I knew what business. Mom told me, hey, understand the business that you're in. Don't ever come and start complaining or whining or crying about it because that's the reality of what happens. And I remember someone telling me, yeah, I saw all the bad publicity about you. I said, I got to listen to this guy. He must be wild. And he goes, and you were normal.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that.
Right.
That letter that I got one time. Why? Because that was before email. That's why I got a letter.
Right.
So,
dearest Mr. McNamara.
But yeah, it's I did bring back memories though. When I was in my 40s, I was playing really good basketball. We had a basketball court right outside my townhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this because it was just it's such a fun story. We and we were playing 3-on-3, and if you win, you hold the court as long as you hold the court.
Right.
It was a half court thing, so 3-on-3 were most of the games were 3-on-3, and it was me and a couple other guys in their 40s, but we all knew how to play basketball. And these young kids, 18, 19 came up. We just kicked their butt, and they were furious. How can these old guys beat us? And so they came back afterwards, then they had to stand in line, and they came back at us. I don't know how long it was, half hour later. They stood in the line again to play the winner, and we kept winning. So they came up again, and they thought they could play rough with us. And one guy, young guy, went to box me out, when the rebound goes up, and he turned around to box the guy out. And he turns his head, and he looks at me right in the eye, lifts his elbow, and swings it right at my mouth. Missed me. I saw it coming. And then my rage hit. My golf rage hit, which is, as I've always said, my golf rage used to be, because I don't do it anymore. I've learned to control my temper, was the rage of a serial killer directed at myself. That I couldn't hit a ball with a stick. But the rage just hit, and I tackled him into the fence, and it was just a brawl. There are just some things when you're on a sports field, there are just some things you don't do. Otherwise, you're going to retaliate. Now, afterwards, I went, I can't do that anymore, because I was working at this goes back to when I was working at our flagship station, WBAP. I was doing afternoons there. I'm like, I can't be arrested for being on a brawl on a basketball court, even if it's not my fault.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. The kid had to apologize to me because his uncle was there and saw what happened.
Yeah.
And he came to my house afterwards, knocked on my door, and the kid apologized.
Yeah.
But I've thought about it, then I go, I can't do that. But that's something, you've got to take care of that on the court. What amazed me is none of her teammates came to her defense at that point. Caitlin Clark. Normally you would see that happen. But again, that's not a congressional investigation is not needed for that, or a congressional inquiry, or answer questions to a member of Congress.
This is going to require the Department of Justice. You're right. This is clearly a job for the FBI.
And the Department of Justice is just going to come back and say, see, if a man was taking Caitlin Clark's place in the WNBA, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to, in fact, get a special prosecutor on it, and Caitlin's going to be found guilty of something. I don't know what it will be, but it will be of something.
Well, brags on it.
Yeah.
He'll come up with some charges.
Yeah, fraud. Fraud, 69 counts, 74, 83 counts of something.
It's fraud. She's not really a good basketball player, and she shouldn't be in the WNBA. We're calling that fraud.
Right.
But it's not a fraud.
Remember all those times she passed the ball? She was trying to get rid of the evidence.
When I saw that, though,
Yeah.
Republicans, don't be stupid.
It really is embarrassing.
I know, it really is.
To have a thought about it and put it on social media going, hey, that was wrong, should have been called a flagrant foul, or something like that. Not, I hereby. No. Put your gavel down.
Could Congress possibly investigate wide right and no goal? That would really help me.
Yeah, stay focused.
Yes.
We got some cold case files to work on.
The cold case squad. Oh, my God.
Yeah. I'm Bill Curtis. Yeah. If we're gonna do that, then of course we all know Des caught it. There is
Jeez, remember that one?
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
and I do because Des caught it. But
and Hull was in the crease. It was no goal.
yeah, right. Wide right. Oh my gosh, it's
well, there were victims.
Yeah,
all the people that were watching that were upset about it.
Got sad. It created sadness.
Now wait a minute. Is Banks involved in it because it's like, look, we understand the country's gone to hell.
Mm-hmm.
And the great opiate to keep the masses in line is sports. So Congress needs to keep sports fair so the idiots don't pay attention to the real problems.
Right.
And they concern themselves over meaningless problems like a shove in a basketball game.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, that's why I couldn't do sports talk radio right now.
Yeah.
All right, this is the 11th straight day you need to talk about the shove of Caitlin Clark.
Yeah. Nope.
I don't think so.
Nope.
We're talking about it because we're mocking it because a member of Congress wishes to get involved.
Yeah.
And what even makes it worse, it's a Republican.
Yeah. Yeah, stay focused or get out.
Yeah.
One of the two.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by Howes Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
For several weeks now, farmers in the central and eastern U.S. have been dealing with a wet, very stormy weather pattern. But as we speak,
that is all changing.
USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey says the jet stream is repositioning itself so that there will be less moisture getting to areas east of the Rockies.
Initially, that should be good news for completing any planting activities that have languished due to the wet weather. But eventually we'll need to change the pattern back a little bit and start picking up more moisture back into the central and eastern U.S. No sign of concern at this early stage, but if this pattern were to last for a month or more, then maybe we'd start seeing some issues with dryness starting to develop.
The dry pattern will likely hang around for a couple of weeks, maybe longer, and it also will bring to the west some very hot conditions.
That will not only feed crop development, but it will help to melt any of the remaining high elevation snowpack.
Gary Crawford reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Well, one thing that we know now, the FBI witness confirms on the stand in the Hunter Biden trial that the laptop is real.
Yep.
So that means Representative Goldman, can no longer talk his conspiracy theories that, well, maybe Hunter's laptop, but the Russians, because of Giuliani, the Russians were able to get into it because of Giuliani, and Giuliani has nothing to do with it anymore.
Nope.
Goldman kept that conspiracy theory going on for the longest time without any evidence, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's one of the big takeaways from the Hunter trial yesterday, and that's, of course, we all knew it. We knew that the Hunter laptop was real, but it puts to bed another one of those moments. If you think about how things are changing, you've got NBC saying, yeah, the executive order on the border really doesn't do much. The toxicity of Trump has depleted to a great extent. And now you see, because it was a big deal. I mean, it was a real concerted effort for them to hide the laptop thing. And now it's real, and you can't deny it. So now the question of, all right, what about everything from the laptop and the story that it tells?
The one analysis that's come out, and it's been more than just one person. I think Turley was the first one. He goes, they've got him dead to right. I mean, this is just absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. You're just screwed. I remember I had an old girlfriend who was a private detective, and she would work for defense attorneys, and this would be for normally drug dealers, and gun crimes. And she said that in all the cases that she ever worked, when the feds went after you for drug trafficking and gun crimes, they got you every single time. She goes, for her, because she would actually interview a lot of these defendants for the law firm. That's what she was actually doing. She said every single time. You went in there, she goes, you get depressed because they're all so optimistic that they're going to beat this, and you're like, you just know they're not.
Right.
And she said, and I'm working for the defense, and knowing they're not going to do it. But in this case, Turley said they've got this, and the defense believes they can get jury nullification. That they believe, he goes, that's what he believes is going on. Said because any other defendant would have pleaded this out. You would have made a deal somehow.
Right.
You wouldn't let this go because the evidence is slam dunk. Because the only thing they're hoping for, the only thing they can be hoping for, is jury nullification, that you cannot convict a Biden in Delaware.
Right.
And that's interesting because, you sit there and go, well, Turley's a Trump supporter. He's not a Trump supporter.
He's not.
A lifelong Democrat.
He's not. And that has to be the only play. Other words, otherwise, why do you not make this go away? You're looking for a plea deal to put it to bed as soon as possible.
Right. As a first-time offender.
Yep.
And, I was on drugs.
Yeah. I was on crack.
Right.
Didn't know what I was doing. First-time offender. Plea deal. And they're not doing that.
Well, the first plea deal didn't work out too well, did it?
No.
The first. So probably, and that would be a case, maybe the prosecution's also hesitant, but you don't have the defense looking for a plea deal either.
Right.
Like I said, jury nullification, you can't convict a Biden. Well, that would send another message of a two-tier system of justice, would it not?
Of course. Yep.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And I'm Gary McNamara along with Eric Harley. Good morning. Welcome. Download our Red Eye Radio app today. You can listen when and where you choose. Before we get to our audio cut, which is just great, you're gonna absolutely love this. Love this. But with it raining again here in Texas, at least we're not in a drought.
No, we're not. No, we've had rain for the last 97 years straight, it feels like.
I know. It just. I'm really putting off golf. I golfed once this year. Remember, I had the knee problem last year and then was ready to golf this year again. And starting April, went out, practiced a bunch, went out one time. Was supposed to play in a tournament end of April. Rain canceled that. Haven't been able to find a time to golf, and I'm like, all right, I may practice, but it's done. The summer's coming. It's going to be too hot. So it's like, okay, my golf game, now it's going to, I'm going to start getting back into the swing, literally, of things, probably in late September. So,
yeah.
But it's just, I did see a story yesterday, and they were explaining the fact, lakes may be high for a while now because all of them in North Texas have reached, their limit.
Right.
Because we've had so much rain.
Yeah.
And it's like they explain, well, no, they can't release it all because the lakes keep it. The lake, all these giant lakes. If you've ever flown into Dallas, you probably have gone, well, I thought it was going to be barren. Look at all these lakes. All man-made. Reason number one, flooding. And really, downtown Dallas would be flooded if it wasn't for the lakes and the system they set up for it. And so this does mean, though, that lakes may not be usable for some of the great holidays. If it continues to rain, is this supposed to mellow out here the next week or so? I think it is, but it was supposed to last week.
A few days and then back at it next week.
Jeez.
Yeah.
You kidding me?
Yep.
I wanted to leave early because I live south of here, and, I mean, it's pouring rain, but I really can't justify leaving for rain. Growing up in Buffalo, you can't say, hey, bosses, can I leave a half hour early because of rain? I want to go 75 on the way home. Now I can only go 50, so I don't hydroplane.
Yeah, I
can't sell that, can I?
No, probably not.
All right, you ready?
What you got?
We always talk about living in the bubble of today. And if you don't live in the bubble of today and you have a good memory, it can really come in handy, especially when you have those on the left that will outright lie.
Yeah.
This is absolutely beautiful. This is one of the best takedowns. I mean, that you can learn lessons from this. And it's from Fox News and John Roberts. Now, what happened is John Roberts heard, for example, the Biden administration promoting that in the infrastructure bill, how they created the, $35 a month cap for insulin.
Right.
And because people live in the bubble of today, oh, yeah, okay, credit the Biden administration. John Roberts remembered and said, wait a minute. That was done in the Trump administration.
Right.
Well, they came back, the Biden administration, and called him a liar. We'll let you listen to this now because this is beautiful.
Now we want to take a moment here on the program to talk to you about this. Yesterday, coming out of a segment in which the $35 insulin copay under the Inflation Reduction Act was mentioned, I remarked that I recalled that back in May of 2020, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services had issued a press release that stated President Trump had a plan to lower insulin copays to $35. The Biden campaign's rapid response issued a post on X saying the following, quote, Fox host tries to claim Trump, not President Biden, capped insulin at $35 a month. Fact check. This is a blatant lie. But there are receipts to dispute the Biden campaign's claim about what I said. First, the press release from May 26th of 2020, which read, President Trump announces lower out-of-pocket insulin costs for Medicare seniors. across the nation participating in enhanced Part D prescription drug plans will provide Medicare beneficiaries access to a broad set of insulins at a maximum $35 copay for a month's supply from the beginning of the year through Part D coverage gap. At the White House that same day, there was a Rose Garden event to announce the program. CEOs from participating drug companies were in attendance, as was the CEO of the American Diabetes Association, Tracy Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Administrator Verma, for making this afternoon one that we can focus on the 34 million Americans like myself who's living with diabetes, 7 million of which need insulin to live. Today, together, we are helping millions of seniors access insulin affordably. This is a very big deal.
I was in the Rose Garden that afternoon, as were many other news organizations. Here's what the Washington Post wrote about the plan. Quote, the administration has brokered an agreement between insulin manufacturers and some Medicare prescription drug plans that would lower costs for some seniors beginning in 2021 by capping copays at $35 for a monthly supply. That $35 copay cap was available to seniors under the Medicare Part D Senior Savings Model. It was a program in which drug companies would voluntarily keep copays for insulin affordable. Throughout the fall of 2020, Medicare enrolled seniors in the plan. According to CMS documents, the program was in place for 3 years. Quote, this voluntary model began on January 1st, 2021, and concluded on December 31st, 2023. In May of 2023, the RAND Corporation issued an evaluation of the Senior Savings Model $35 copay program, which said in part, quote, the model test has generated a robust response from eligible POs, parent organizations, with even greater participation in the second year of implementation. Most participating plans offered plan-selected model insulins at the maximum $35 per month copayment. While the $35 copay was already available to seniors who chose to enroll in the Senior Savings Model, President Biden made it his, quote, signature issue to convert the voluntary program into a mandatory program. The Inflation Reduction Act caps cost sharing for each insulin product covered under a Medicare prescription drug plan. We invited a representative from the Biden campaign to come on the program with us to discuss the issue, but thus far, they have made no one available.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah, so do they not even try to look? Do they just believe they can put the statement out there? Biden's people and think no one's going to look it up and Roberts isn't going to respond? I mean, what's the thinking there? Because my question would be, beyond that, I mean, it had the potential to go on and be a story. Let's say the Biden team didn't respond to John Roberts. And he said it, and then it went viral, and a lot of conservatives put it on there. Hey, this isn't Biden's plan, it was Trump's plan. And, you know, it has the potential to go viral, but you make it even more viral by incorrectly correcting him. You, by challenging John Roberts, brought all the proof of the truth to the surface because John Roberts really didn't have a choice. He's going to defend his integrity and just demolished the Biden team's response. It's beautiful. I just wonder what in the world they're thinking. How do you not think that through? How do you not just at least ignore it because you really can't respond to it because Roberts was right?
Yeah, the program was started under, now the programs were different, but the programs were effective and you could get into it if you wished to get into it.
But this is something
but it was voluntary. It was voluntary where the drug companies were involved in it, and then Biden made it mandatory, but the program existed just in a different form.
Right. It was already in place.
Right.
And
you could get into it.
And this is something, too, the Trump administration. Remember Trump bringing all the big pharma CEOs? Because during his campaign in 2016, he called them out, said, hey, you got to do something, and then brought them to the White House. And what happened? The word got out that he was a very congenial host, gave them a tour of the White House and the whole thing, and then sat down with them and said, look, if we try and work with you on faster FDA approval, streamlining the process on approval on drugs and everything else and all this, can you help control costs? And he had that conversation with them. And that was the approach. Ultimately, that led to, in part, that program. And I guess, the Biden team just wants you to believe they're saving the world, but it's just as disingenuous as the executive order from on the border from yesterday. Nobody believes it. Nobody buys it's going to do anything. 1 minute you're flailing your hands, I have no power to do anything, and the next thing you're beating your own chest because only you have the power.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how the media covers the whole border executive order today. I mean, it wasn't good yesterday for Biden, and we expected it was going to be that way because he's trying, just like on Israel, to please people who support Israel and please anti-Semites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can't do that. It's impossible. He believes he can, and the same thing here. He believes that I can appease both sides, and you can't. Both sides lashed out at him.
Yep. Yeah,
but
he can't win.
But when it came to the media coverage of it, even that's why we play the NBC, because MSNBC, NBC, same company, that NBC coming out going, no, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
It's going to work.
Right.
And so we advise them. They don't listen to us, but we always give advice to everybody. And we said, probably not going to work for you. And now that the figure is out there, well, roughly just under 2 million people will be able to get in the country every year under the executive order. You can't win there.
No, it's not, because effectively it's not going to change anything in these blue cities where they're dealing with all this. Not going to change anything in New York, Chicago, or anywhere else. And again, you can go out, the administration and the Biden campaign can go out and promote that, look, the numbers have improved. Nobody's buying it.
866-90-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. And finally, we covered this story earlier, but we know people are just waking up now. And this was one of the most enjoyable stories that we did today. So in case you missed it, this is for you. The American public, by a wide margin, wants both Trump and Biden drug tested before the first debate and the second debate. 70% of Americans.
That's almost half.
Yes, 70% want them both drug tested. Only 18% said drug tests were not needed. 12% said, well, they didn't know they were high.
Yeah.
So they
said what?
They did.
Did you call the cops, man?
Now, this is interesting. 77% of Republicans supported the drug test. 64% of Democrats supported drug testing. Now, they didn't say for what drugs, though, because drug tests can be, they're certain drug tests can detect certain things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to see the list from the respondents.
What list?
What concerns you the most? Give us your top 3.
Yeah, and if Trump is on drugs, what kind of drug do you think he's on?
Right. Yeah, I want to see the list.
Let's say one.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.